Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Force, and today we will be checking out Lords of the Fallen. Many are calling this Dark Souls Light, and they aren't necessarily incorrect. This game has a lot of similarities to Dark Souls in terms of the way the combat and gameplay feels, but it's also got some unique twists and things that make it pretty interesting. I'm going to show you through some gameplay today. I've actually sunk in I think 6 hours is my grand total. Let me actually show you here. I've got a couple of saves here. This one's 142, that one's 325, this one's 20, and there was a save that I also overwrote here, which I think was about an hour. This is all within the past 24 hours. I've played a crap ton. I'm going to make a brand new game though. I'm going to take you through character creation first, and then we're going to just jump right in. And I want to show you gameplay from the beginning, and I might possibly do a follow-up video just to show you stuff a little bit later. Now, I can only show up to like the 4th boss prior to release. There's some embargo stuff going on. Let's just jump right in. So first you decide the type of character that you want to play. This is going to dictate the magical skill line that you have access to. I have not gotten far enough into the game to see if you can unlock the other trees while actually in the game, or if you're stuck to the one tree that you select, so I'm not sure exactly how that works. But yeah, so let's take a look at that. Everyone's got access to a prayer, whether you're playing as Deception, Solace, or Brawling. And this is basically like a big warrior, melee fighter, rogue type character, and then a caster healer sort of thing here. So everyone's got access to a list of abilities that you can see on the right hand side. So first of all, there's a prayer for each one of these, which makes you a motionless clone that attracts attention of enemies, and then will either increase your magic recovery, your health, or your energy recovery. And then there's some skills that are specific to you, like we've got Rage, Quake, and Ram here. These are all warrior, brawler focused. And then the Shift, Stab, and Mimic, which again is the rogue type stuff, and then Solace, which gives you shelter, so like a defensive, a daze, and then punishment and eye for an eye ability. So we're going to end up going with Brawling, but I want to show you a little bit stuff before we actually lock this in. So in addition to selecting your magic type, you're also going to pick your equipment selection. And this is basically just going to decide two things. It's going to decide your starting attributes as well as the gear that you start with. Now, even if you pick the set of the rogue here, you can still wear medium or heavy gear, and you can use any weapon that you want in the game. But what you select is going to determine your base stats. So it's going to determine the baseline. So if we start off here with the brawler, and we pick the warrior, we can go down to the summary and you can see the stats on the right hand side, and the altered stats are going to be the strength and the vitality. You can see strength is at 11, vitality is at 14, and then also extras at the bottom are the health potion and the ghost merge shard. Now if I switch that up a little bit, so let me switch, we'll keep the brawling, but we'll switch from the warrior to the cleric, and then we go to the summary. The altered stats are different. We've got 12 for vitality and 12 for faith. So those are the ones. And then, you've got your starting gear, but again, all of that gear can be replaced. That's not a big deal. The extras also change. You can see 3 health potions and 1 magic energy shard. Or we can go with, so we stay with brawling, and then we switch to the rogue, and that's going to change the altered stats to vitality, endurance, and agility, all the way 10, and then the extras are 4 health potions and 1 energy shard. So as you can see, and it also there's a class name. So this is the outlaw. All right, the rogue with the brawler is the outlaw. The rogue with the solace is the ranger, and the rogue with the deception one is going to be the rogue. So yeah, all of this is going to, depending on the selection that you pick, it's going to change some of your base stats. Now as you play through the game, just like in Dark Souls, you're collecting experience and you're using that to increase your stats. So you're going to be able to alter stuff over the course of the game. What we're going to stick with though, I'm going to stick with the very basic warrior, just because I think that's going to be a good way to introduce you to the title. So yeah, here's my, we're gonna pick the heavy armor as well as the brawling, and that's going to be our warrior. And let's go ahead and jump right into the game. All right, so here we are in game now at the very start. I did edit out a couple of cutscenes. Don't worry, I spared you. It's nothing to write home about, but if you're actually interested in watching that, I'm sure there's plenty of playthroughs that are going to pop up on YouTube. But I want this video to focus on the fundamentals, the gameplay, all of that stuff, not the cutscenes and stuff like that. So starting off with the basics, I'm just going to take you through the basics tutorial, and then I'm going to blitz through the first couple of bosses, because again, I've done this several times now. I've played this game for over 6 hours in the past 24 hours. So first basic thing, lock onto target is going to be right stick. Now there are actually multiple configure operations. There's multiple different configurations that you can select. There's the alternative. Oh, there's two, I guess multiple. There's default and then there's the alternative. I decided to go with alternative because it is much more akin to the way Dark Souls is played in terms of the control scheme. The default one was fine. It just since this game plays so much like Dark Souls, I figured we might as well go with the control setup that is much more similar to Dark Souls, which is what this alternative one is. So just keep that in mind when you decide to, if you decide to pick up the game, you might want to play with alternative if you're a fan of the Souls series. So first we've got a lock on a target like that, and then they're coming in with an attack, and we can block it here with left bumper, so that's fantastic. And then it's going to say, all right, now why don't you try a fast attack, which is going to be right bumper, and then we can do that again. So nice little chain there, 1, 2. And then next up, he's going to come out a heavy swing. So what can we do? Well, yes, we can block, but we can also dodge. So why don't we go ahead and dodge to the left here? And then now that he's winding something else up, we can go ahead and do a heavy attack, and we can chain that with another heavy attack, just like that. Fantastic. And then it just basically says, all right, now resource management. Bottom left, we have got 3 bars. The health, we've got our energy bar, and then we've got, is it actually called energy? Yeah, it's called energy. Health, energy, and then there's your mana. So those are the 3 bars you need to pay attention to. Yeah, it says right there. Health red, energy orange, magic blue. Okay, it's called magic, not mana, whatever. Whatever, who cares? So a couple things about the combat. Again, I mentioned it is similar in a lot of ways to Dark Souls. So we have got, we can do a one-handed light attack, we can do a one-handed heavy attack, and then we can switch to 2 hands here, and we can do a 2-handed light attack, and then a 2-handed heavy attack. And then there's also alternatives like the rolling attack. It's going to be a different sort of thrust or lunge or whatever. One thing that's of note, though, is that there's no difference between the rolling light, which is this, and the rolling heavy, which you will see is the exact same motion. So the attack animation is the same. I'm actually not sure if there's a difference in damage. I would assume that the rolling heavy would be more damage, but since it's the same attack animation and it appears to have the same speed, that might not actually be the case. It might be the same damage instead of different damage between the light and the heavy of that. It's also a jump back like this, so you can do a jump back and then a swing, but the jump back swing does not have a unique attack animation. It will be the same attack animation as well. So what I've said about the combat, I talked about this on Twitter today. It's like Dark Souls, but just it doesn't have quite as much depth, but the game is still quite fun to play, and it can be very challenging as well. But yes, the combat mechanics don't have quite as much depth. There is a combo mechanic where if you chain attacks perfectly, notice there's a blinking of the energy bar. That means that you've timed a follow-up attack perfectly, and it gives you a reduction of resource cost as a result. And I thought I remember hearing it does more damage. Nothing about the tutorial said that, but that might be the case. At the very least, I do believe it does reduce the cost if you time your attacks chained perfectly. So let me try to go with a 1, 2, 3 here. So we go 1, and then 2, and then a heavy attack. Okay, so I must be off on that 3rd swing because I should be able to chain another attack. Let's talk to this dude, though.
It's locked.
Okay, so this guy, it's locked, and there's some different dialogue options. I have to say the voice acting in this game, I've not been too impressed with, specifically the main character. They're forcing a lot more story on you in this game than they do in the Soul series, which is not a bad thing. I just haven't found it super interesting. And again, I haven't really liked the voice acting too much. Listen for yourself.
There must be some way to open this door.
A switch, perhaps, or a key.
I don't know. I just feel like there's not much emotion. But you can have a bunch of conversation with him. I'm not going to do that though because, again, I want to focus on the gameplay, on the combat. I'm not so concerned about the story stuff. If that's what you're concerned about, once more, I'm sure there will be plenty of playthroughs on YouTube. I expect this game to do quite well. My first impressions are incredibly positive. All right, so we're just going to start off with some shield, some heavy slamming here. So we've got this guy, so I can just walk up to him and I can block his attack, and then I can just counterattack with a light attack, and we can chain that up with another and just finish him off. Plain and simple. These are our little grunt dudes, no big deal. You can roll into a lot of the objects within the environment and destroy them. We're the big heavy dude right now, but in the future, I really like to play with little armor and a lot of dodging, and that's actually going to be my play style. But just to start off here, we're just going to show you lumbering, walking around, blocking stuff. Once we get to the first fight, I'm going to switch it up to my agile things. Okay, so stealth. You can actually just walk slowly, and this is going to allow you to sneak up behind an enemy, although this guy might turn around before I sneak up on him. We'll find out in a second. Yes, he did. So if I was a little bit quicker with that, I could have gotten behind him, and that would have allowed me to do a backstab. So this game does have like a critical attack from the back, once again similar to what Dark Souls has. These scrolls on the ground, you will find them as you make your way throughout the world. I actually like how this is done. I like when this is done in video games, it's a way of telling the story without taking a break from the action. So we can listen to a little bit of this here while I kill those two fools down there.
It is in me, and it is changing me. My skull. The bones are moving, glowing. It does not feel like poison in my veins, more like liquid darkness. We have seen with others what happens next. Eyesight goes first, then follows sanity. Brother William, Brother Peter and I won't let the disease take us. We will choose death before it chooses us.
Okay, so again, it tells a little bit of the backstory without cutting to a cutscene, without forcing you to read through this stuff. It allows you to continue to play the game, which that's a mechanic that I really like in video games. Keep the action going while still having a narrative. A little secret hidden passage here that you can roll right into. And from this spot, we are going to be able to open up a chest. Let's see what it gives us access to. Whenever there's loot on the ground or in a chest, it is represented by this red crystal. Now that's not indicative of the item, it is just indicative of that there's loot for you to pick up. It can be potions, it can be runes, it can be gear, it can be whatever. It will just look like this red shard though. So let's see what we get here. We get an empty potion bottle. All right, so this is gonna add to our max potions. You pick up empty potion bottles, and for the... I hate to keep bringing it up, but there are a lot of similarities. To compare it to Dark Souls, that's basically your Estus flask. You will pick up an empty one, and then you fill them up at these shrines, which we'll be getting to see in a minute. And here in this first video here, I hope to show you a couple of bosses, the first one and the second one. I think I mentioned this at the start. I'm allowed to show up to the first 4 bosses, which I've already gone through in my own playthrough, but in this first video I hope to at least get you to the first and the second. So there was a backstab, which you saw special animation for that, and then also a critical damage. I mean, you saw there was a lot of damage that took place. All right, so there is another scroll, so we're gonna listen to this while I go downstairs and slay some more enemies.
Dear Father, the fires on the horizon, they are spreading towards our village. I beg you, be careful. Something evil is happening. I can feel it. You can always seek refuge here, in the monastery. Whatever happens, Antanas can save us. Please, please, be safe.
And I found the key that I was looking for, as well as a magic energy shard. A little bit later on, I'll show you some of what these items are that we're picking up. We're picking up runes, which we can put in gear. And there's basically like fire runes, which will give your gear fire resistance, or to give your weapons enhanced fire damage, things like that. These are challenges, these little crystals you can see in the right-hand corner here. Now, you might want to remember this location, a magical portal, and there are other ones too. It'll open up once you have defeated a formidable enemy, one portal. And basically, this puts you into this dark realm where you fend off various attackers, and then you're rewarded with loot. And as you read there, once you defeat formidable enemies, the nearby portal will open up. So after we defeat the first boss, I'm actually going to run back here to check if that opens up that portal. All right, so I'm actually going to do my switching right now because we're about to come up to the first boss here. Like I said, this is just sort of how I prefer to play these. It's how I prefer to play Dark Souls, and I've really enjoyed playing it this way in this game as well. So there's a wait. Oh, this is my inventory. Let's just explain things first of all. So there's different things. There's quest items, and this doesn't. I'm playing on a controller as I felt it played better than on the keyboard and mouse. The keyboard and mouse seemed all right, but with these type of games, I generally like to. I prefer to play them with the controller. And this is sort of. It's a little finicky. Sometimes it'll skip between when you're using the joystick to rotate around. So I'm not a huge fan of this. I don't think it just feels a little weird. This interface would be easier to interact with if just moving my mouse and clicking on those things. But there's quest items, there are trinkets. We've got slots for a head, chest, wrist, legs. There's gauntlets. A gauntlet is a special one-handed magical weapon which can fire different things like projectiles or little bombs or something, uses up magic. There's a slot for your shields, which actually I'm going to drop that shield here. There is slot for, okay, this is like, what is happening here? There we go. There is slot for your weapons, and you can do different sorting options. So, well, actually, I guess I can't do it now since it, oh yeah, I will be able to. Let me, you can do different sorting options. So you can show it big, you can show a list, which we will prefer a list once there's lots of items there. But right now, we can just go with this little version. Slot for the different consumables, health potions, ghost merge shards, resistance and energy shards, things like that. And then runes, which are item enhancements once I identify them. You won't see the identifying process here in this video, but later in the game there's an NPC that identifies them, and then you put your runes into your gear. Okay, so we're going to, I just want to be, so in the bottom left, you can see current experience, which is sort of like the souls I'm carrying, my damage and my armor. You can see the health and energy and magic. Those are my 3 bars. And then the weight. Now notice the weight is green. When the weight is green, this is going to be a light roll. So notice I'm not as fat rolling anymore like I was with all that heavy armor. And this is how I prefer to play it. As long as you're in the green. The one thing I'm not sure is if I go lower in the green, if I roll further or not. I haven't done that research. So I'm just gonna go, as long as I'm in the green, we're gonna stick with that. So this puts me from green into just the regular white text. So we're gonna just stay like this out. We're gonna stay with this setup here. So we're doing quick rolls. There we go, perfect, okay. But it might be the case that if I have less armor, I'm going to roll further or faster. You know how it is in Souls, right? So it might be something like that. We'll have to see. We're going to go with two-handed, and we're going to go with dodging. Now, while you're dodging, you are invincible. So you've got invincibility frames while you are rolling. So it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more forgiving than Dark Souls is. Here's a little backstab animation. Go. Beautiful. It's a little bit more forgiving than Dark Souls is in terms of what you can roll through. You know, this game, before it came out, people were saying, you know, it's sort of like an arcadey Dark Souls, and that seems to be the case a little bit.
What are you waiting for? Open the door.
I could use some help.
Here, this might be useful.
And I actually think that gives me an extra potion flask. I think that's what it actually was. And now we're going to come up to the first boss. I'll let you guys watch this little cutscene here. I love that they take your current equipment setup into the cutscenes, because this shit's hilarious. Just shirtless dude like, come on, let's do it. I'm gonna get you. Look at him, it's so funny. After this boss fight, I'll find some light armor that I can put on, so at least he's wearing a shirt. We got split up, no. I love that he raises his sword in honor. Like, get ready to fight. Alright, this is unavoidable. He just smacks you in the face, even if you skip this cutscene. So, please bear in mind, prior to watching me do this, I have done this fight. This is like my 5th or 6th time. Or no, it's my 4th time, but there were several deaths in the first few attempts. So, I don't know, I could very well die, but if I make it look easy, just realize a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've done this a few times, so I know, of course, as I say that, he smacks me in the face. I've done this a few times, so I sort of know what to expect, but I guess it has been a couple of hours, so maybe he's gonna do 4 swings here, and the last one I'm gonna roll next to him, and then we can get a hit off there. And then this might be, oh, that's a big one, there we go. I can get 2 off here, so just try to chain them, which is the best thing to do. Now at the top, you're gonna notice that his health bar is segmented. Those are his different phases. So, you know, phases in boss fights, not something new, you know, not something like, oh, it's never been done before, but they have gone through the, I guess the effort to actually have a visual representation of that. which I can appreciate. So you basically, you know exactly when he's gonna do that next thing. You know, there's no guesswork, which yeah, I enjoy that. So we're just gonna dance around this a little bit, and once he commits like that, then we can get a hit off. We're gonna do a big heavy, follow it up. Okay, so that just moved him into his next phase because we broke past that bar there. He's gonna do a little charge here with the shield slam, and we are going to, oh, never mind. Yes, here it is. Go like that, and we'll do a heavy attack there. Boom, lots of damage with that, so I might just stick with those. The rolling animation is incredibly long. Part of how I talked about, I said, oh, this feels a little bit more forgiving than Dark Souls. That's part of that equation. Like, there's next phase. He's continuously ripping off his armor as we, I guess, piss him off more and more. So the roll animation is very long, and there are invincibility frames during it. It's pretty easy, even if you like super fat finger roll very early. A lot of times it'll still be okay. So yeah, feels a little bit more forgiving in that aspect. And you know, I'm no Dark Souls expert, but I played I played the crap out of the first one. I honestly did not play too much of the second one, not yet. I do eventually plan to do that. So I'm no super expert about Dark Souls combat. I'm just sort of trying to relay some of the basic stuff that I remember and how it relates to this game. All right, now he's tossed his shield off. He's super pissed. He's gonna do a flurry of attacks. I do believe if I stay far back enough, though, he eventually just stops. Okay, there we go. And now he's just a little bit more aggro than before. I think I have time to get one attack off. And keep in mind, too, this is also the very first boss fight, so they've made it, you know, his attacks and everything is pretty slow, pretty deliberate. I'm gonna go back here, and I should be out of range here. I'm gonna chug a health potion just to be safe, and we don't have to worry about the fact that we are using up potions, because right after this boss fight, we'll be able to completely replace them. They've got a system similar to the bonfire system, except that it doesn't completely reset all the NPCs, which I really like that. All right, we can be a little bit more here. He's just about dead. I'm just gonna be aggro here. We're not even gonna bother trying to dance around. Okay, so boss is defeated. Now it's been my experience that each of the bosses have a guaranteed item. In the 4 times that I've defeated him, this is the 4th time. The 3 prior times I got this exact greatsword. So let's see if we get that exact greatsword again. There is a randomization of loot, however, within the world, with certain drops off NPCs and possibly drops off of some of the chest, although there are some set chest drops that we're going to be seeing very shortly at the beginning here. Okay, so the first Warden has been defeated. Here is his shard, as I mentioned before, the shard's on the ground. This just tells you it's an item, and it should be this great sword. And there it is, Persistence, the great sword, as well as a sealed rune. Now, these are the save points, the health restoring, and the potion refill up, as well as where you spend experience. So there's going to be a couple of big paragraphs here. Here's how this works, okay? The experience you earn for defeating enemies remains with you until you decide to store it or you die, at which point you will drop it like your souls and you will have to go and pick it up. And if you don't pick it up and you die again, then you will lose all of that experience. Now, you can also store it in here and use it to gain more attributes or to get skill points for spending in spells. Now, there's an additional mechanic, though, in that the more you carry, the higher your percentage chance to get rare items are. So you can see the more you carry, the higher rewards drop from fallen foes. So we don't want to lose stuff, so we can bank it at these save shards, which will prevent the loss upon death, but it will also reset your drop rate modifier. So let's just go ahead and jump in, because I am going to spend the points right now. But basically, if I hold on to these, and I will cycle through this, if you want to pause and read it, go ahead. This is just describing what these different areas are, essentially. Okay. So I'm going to spend all my current experience, and you can either left trigger to spend it to put it into spell points, or right trigger for attributes. Now I'm going to 100% focus on attributes. So we're going to right trigger it up, and you can do a little bit, like I can just spend a little bit here. You know, I can do a little bit of light trigger. I don't have to go all the way, but I'm going to go all the way. We're going to spend all the points here, get 2 attributes. We're going to go all the way and get 3 attributes. Beautiful. And we've got 215 left. Let's go ahead and put that 215 into our first spell point. So it's all banked right now. So we're going to lose our extra chance to get super loot. So they make you make the decision is, do you want to run the risk and carry around all of this experience on your character and have a great chance to get loot? So we'll eventually carry around like thousands and thousands of experience. Or do you want to bank it to make your character stronger by giving you more spell points or giving you more attribute points? The way I see it is I'm probably going to start off the early game, pumping up my character, making him stronger with more attribute points. And then later in the game, I'm just going to run around and get as much as I can and try to get the super fat loot, you know? So we've got 3 attribute points. We can now spend it. Strength, vitality, or endurance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit into endurance, which is going to be my energy, so I can do more dodging and attacking. And then I'm going to be a strength-based character, so we're going to put a point into strength as well. So those will be my 3 attribute points. But besides strength, there's vitality for more health. There's faith, this is like the magical stuff. So if you want to be a mage type character, that's where you're going to put your points. Endurance is your energy, as well as a little bit of your equipment burden. Agility will be for damage with fast weapons. Those would be like daggers or like bow staffs. As well as you get a little bit of bonus energy from agility. And then luck, I actually haven't seen this here. Luck, better rewards from killing opponents, but also helps you better crafting materials. So there you go. You can spend points into luck if you want. All right, so we're going to lock in the points that we've spent there. They're all set. As I mentioned, you can get spell points, and with the spell points, you will be able to see, so here are the 3 things. Deception, which is the rogue tree, Solace, and then this is the one that we picked, which is Brawling. So once I fill up the XP enough to get a single spell point, I could get my first tier into this spell, and then I can use that spell, which is going to put a clone of me and regenerate health over time. And maybe we'll do that a little bit later here in this video. There's also just a synopsis of your character stats here. And then we've got a tab for lore, and there's the inventory tab. You guys knew about that. So the Great Sword, I'm not going to equip it because I need a strength of 15 in order to actually fully use this weapon. You can see there's a damage bonus of minus 29 for not having the requisite strength. So I could still use it, but it's not going to be nearly as effective. So we're going to stick with our steel sword. I also like the way the steel sword plays a little bit better than that big one. So I'm not too upset about the fact, but yeah. Okay, and then also, so you spend your experience here. You also run up to these, and by hitting A, it's going to fill up all of the empty flasks that I have, as well as restore my health. Now, doing this, unlike in Dark Souls, where when you rest at a bonfire to fill up your Estus flasks, doing this does not reset the enemies in the area. The enemies in the area will reset, but that will only happen when you die. So if I die, I get kicked back to the last one of those shards that I saved at, and nearby enemies will reset. But as you can see here, these enemies, they're not here. They weren't reset. But yeah, so it allows you to fight a little bit, run back, heal up, fill your potions, fight a little bit, and continue going along that way. And whereas with Dark Souls, if you tried doing that, all the enemies would keep resetting. Although in the second one, they eventually put a cap on that. But yeah, so you can keep refilling your health and your potions without having to slog through the waves of enemies again. All right, so this is the little portal. We just defeated a big guy, and the portal opens up. So let's go ahead and hop in. I actually haven't been in this particular one, but if it's similar to the last one that I was in, which it appears to be, there's going to be some loot. Although, wow. The one that I did a little bit later in the game had enemies to fight. It doesn't look like this one does. So we've got a Faithful Disciple armor there. We've got a sword, as well as a Ghost Merge shard. The Ghost Merge shard will let you get back all of your experience without having to run back to where you last died if you use up one of those. Wow, so we got a bunch of stuff. And I actually don't know. Oh, crap. Almost fell off the edge. All right, so since this is one at the beginning, I guess they're not doing much. But in the last one that I was in, you had to run through the dark where, you know, see how I was just taking damage in there? I had to run through the dark and fight all of these enemies to go from chest to chest, and then eventually there was like a boss dude at the end. But since this is the first one at the start of the game, it's obviously just like, oh, here's some freebies. So let's go ahead and actually take a look at, oh, and since I popped out, the enemies came back, so that's interesting. I did not know that happened. All right, there we go, learning a little bit as we go. Missing some swings too. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got though, because I think we got, yes, what is this? Used in common, ancient, it is believed the amulet regenerated their spell crafting powers. So I don't even know what that does, but I guess we have it equipped. And then I also got some shards and stuff. Okay, well, we've got a ring. That's the first time I've picked up a trinket in this game, so. And I'm not even entirely sure what it does. It sounds like it regenerates mana, but, you know, who knows. Alright, let's go ahead and fight this guy here. And once he turns our back, we might be able to get, yeah, there's a backstab. This backstab, like, cuts him straight through his midsection. It's kind of gruesome. It's a heavy attack. Something actually I'm not sure is I don't think, like in Dark Souls, how you can hit off walls. Yeah, we don't get that in this game, so you won't accidentally clip off walls and lose a ton of energy from it. Yeah, so it's the small things that, again, make it, it's a bit more forgiving in some ways. It's a bit more arcadey in some ways than the Souls series. And I'm sure there's some people who are going to be super annoyed that I keep making the comparison, but it's an apt comparison in many ways. Okay, so here's a guy here. Let's do a little sneak up, so we'll just walk slow. Ooh, there are many ways to deal increased damage. Surprise attacks are one of them, yes indeed. Okay, so we're going to move forward nice and slow, and then do a surprise backstab. Although again, as you see, it's more of a midsection cut than a backstab. Each successive victory stacks up your chance for better loot. We've talked about that already, so yeah. You get experience, you get a, and you'll see that in the bottom right-hand corner when I kill things. We'll make note of that in my next encounter here. Is he turned around or is he facing me? He's facing me. I'll just stab him a bit. What is up with that short sword range? So, oh, okay. So if you're paying attention, they show the multiplier in the bottom right when I kill something. Let's listen to this, pick up some loot, and kill another guy.
Soon after banishing the god, the three men that were known as the judges parted ways forever. Apart from their common goal, they were very different in every possible way. 3 statues were built for them on the square of the judges, displaying the distinct paths they had taken. These statues hold a secret, as if it were their heart, but it is retained by the stone. Only the shard of heroes could make that heart beat, and only an unearthly force could tear it out.
Oh yeah, loving the look of some of the armor in this game. Like, look at this nice flowy cloak. I mean, it's looking pretty sharp. Oh, should have dodged. Yep, should have dodged that. What an idiot. All right. So yeah, I figure I'll do some research. I want to know if the lighter you go, the faster you roll. But given everything else, the way everything else in this game works, I'm just going to assume that if you're green, it means you've got the fastest roll available. But that could be wrong, so please, you know, don't quote me on that. And what I want to do is I want to go, we're going to play through here a little bit, because this next boss is not too far away. So I'd like to just keep going. I've been going incredibly slow for this playthrough. So there's a monk staff, so there's different weapon types. The monk staff has a completely different set of attacks. It's got, I actually really like it. I built one of my saves is an agility character that runs with this staff. It's pretty cool. It's a very fast attacking weapon. It scales with agility instead of strength. But I found after playing with that one save for several hours, and this could change later in the game, but I found that a lot of the really good epic weapons that I was getting off of bosses, they were all scaling with strength. And so I had this agility scaling character, and I was getting no loot that was beneficial for him.
Stand against such forces much longer. We must find a place to hide. A place with walls and soldiers, mighty Antanas. We will be on our way. Please prepare for a few dozen refugees.
That's another story thing over here, so we'll listen to that while we kill this last guy.
What exactly were the laws? They wielded power beyond our understanding. They fought fiercely, they blindly followed the god. Anyone who tried to talk to them, reason with them, failed.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut it off. I forgot that was a loading screen. All right, so this is going to move us into the next area. There will be a nice save shard over here. Something else about this game that is worth noting, it is quite linear. Oh, we've got sprinting, and there's also a big heavy attack that you can do while sprinting. So something like that. Oh, this short range on that. I keep missing like a big old fool. So yeah, you can do a big old heavy lunging attack. which is cool. Get away from me. Come on, what are you doing? You guys are silly. I don't want to lock on. Let's get this guy. Roll away. There's also another guy in this courtyard. He hasn't aggroed me yet, though. What is that bouncing axe? Oh, that's from the guy I just killed. There he is. There's the stab, and there's a big axe wielder. So all sorts of different types of enemies. You know, we're still in the very early part of the game, so we've only been seeing the same few types. But as you go on later, you get enemies that are more aggressive, you know, more difficult. So there's some crazy enemies in the area that I am now in the game. However, unfortunately, I can't show that stuff off because of an embargo. I can't show that stuff off, I think, until Monday. But if I keep playing this like I have been over the past 24 hours, which is, I've been playing it a lot, if I continue this pace and I get really far into it, which all signs point to yes, because again, I'm sort of digging what I'm seeing here. I was hoping that second attack would stagger him, but that's not the case. So what I'm going to do actually here is I'd like to show you. So I'm going to chug a potion here. Okay, and I'm going to open up this side. And I'm going to show you what I talked with you about earlier, which was the fact that when you use the heal up, the resting mechanic, it doesn't repopulate the world, but it will repopulate once more when you die. So dying, if I died right now, this whole courtyard would fill back up. Everything that was here would return. And then apparently when you go through certain portals, like the one that I went through earlier. All right. Get a second attack here. I was really hoping that second attack staggered, but 2 heavy attacks back to back should stagger an enemy. I'm just saying. Those are two sword thrusts with this big old sword here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this lever. This will open up the door for us. And then I'm gonna run back to this. You can do a running jump, so you run and then hit the roll button, and it's gonna do that little jump there. Although you can't like jump over a lot of the terrain. Once more returning to the idea that this game feels a little bit arcadey in many ways. You can't, like I can't go over that. I don't even know if I could clip this edge. Let me try to clip that edge, ready? Yeah, look at that. I hit an invisible wall up there. So yeah, they don't really, not a lot of free reign here. I'm gonna have a little conversation with this dude.
You, help me, please.
So here's the deal.
What happened to your hand?
Spider venom. It burns like Adir himself.
So this guy got bit by a spider. And then we tell him that the only thing we can do is cut off his arm. That's the only way to save him, otherwise he dies, all right? So we say, okay, yeah, sure, we'll do it.
Right. On your head be it.
So we cut off his arm.
Thank you. I owe my life to you, stranger. Wait. You're not one of the monastics. The markings on your face.
And then we just carry on the conversation like nothing happened. It is freaking crazy. We're gonna give him a potion because we're a nice guy. It's gonna give me 1 less potion to have, but maybe later in the game it ends up coming back like to help me or something. I just thought, you know, between the voice acting being a little and like that happening, I'm just like, this guy, I just sliced his arm off. And he's continuing to talk to me like nothing happened. There's little things like that that, I don't know, kind of bug me a little bit. Maybe they don't bug you though, so whatever. So some of these early chests, they've basically just got different sets of armor. So you can see I just got a set of light armor, and I actually think I like this light armor here. Oh no, it's this one that I like. Yeah, that looks good. And what do I want? Yeah, that's good too. And yeah, we'll go with the light. You know, more dodging and stuff, I don't know. Got to stab this guy. So unfortunately, you know, at this early part, you aren't seeing a lot of difficult fights with these basic enemies, but I do promise you they get a bit more challenging later on. So if you're interested in seeing that stuff, I figured this was the best way to give you a nice introduction to the game, you know, to walk you through the literal introduction of the game. I figured this would be a good way to do it. But if you are interested in seeing some of the more, I guess, complex enemies, and the second part of it too is that in my very first playthrough, I was dying to these things, but just like these sort of games work with this type of combat, once you learn how the enemies attack, it becomes a lot less of a challenge, and that's just how it is, for better or worse, you know. Okay, I should have dodged that. That's just me being a derp. Got a few attacks against that guy. Wonderful, wonderful. And
Anybody here?
oh, is there anyone in this watchtower? Okay, I want to pick this up so you guys can listen to this while I fight.
Ninth night on watch. How could the Rukar get inside the sacred walls of Keystone? Appeared out of nowhere. The graveyard is swarming. I need to learn the answer.
In the upper right, a second ago, they were talking about different fighting stances, and, you know, that's the idea of, am I going with one hand, am I going with two hand, am I using a shield, am I not, all that stuff. Locked chest, which you can use runes on, which I'm going to, because I think this chest had something good. I don't really remember now. Oh yeah, the live elements set. Oh yes, we're gonna put this on. I think this is the set that I was thinking. Yeah, I like this set a lot. Was there no? There was no. Okay, let's go with that. And live elements hands. Okay, and live elements boots too. Yeah. I like the look of it, and it's light, so we got some nice dodging. Oh, wait a second. Did that put me over the green? It did, huh? Because it's all medium. Let's put this to light. Let's put the boots to light. There we go. We're back in the green. Okay. I like the look of it. I like the look of it. And let's go ahead. Oh, that is locked. Okay, let's go up the stairs. I think there's a guy up here. Oh, yeah. Big old brawler, dude. I don't know if you notice, I just heavy attacked and canceled it with a dodge. So I can go like this, and then mid-heavy I can dodge. Forgiving, you know? It's not, there is some committal to some of these attacks, but there's a little bit of wiggle room if you decide, uh-oh, he's about to hit me, maybe instead of attacking, I should dodge right now. So yeah, you get a little bit of wiggle room with that. And the next boss is coming right up, so we're going to go ahead and move there. And now we are being represented with a new weapon type, which is the gauntlet. Now the gauntlet has a few different attacks which we can cycle through with the D-pad. So there is a straight attack, there is a magic blast, and there's an explosive which will like launch a grenade. Now I'm not going to show you all three right away. We'll start off with now, look at the bottom left, you can see it shows, and that's basically what it is. It's a single projectile that'll hit a single enemy, it's a multi-shot which can hit multiple enemies for less, or it's a grenade which if it blasts near an enemy, that actually I believe does the most damage out of the three. So we'll go ahead and use this on, we've got a guy over here, this guy. And I want to dodge, because there's a archer up there, so I want to dodge his attacks, so I'm not getting hit by that. And then I can fire this, there we go. So I can do my one-handed sword, and then also use my gauntlet. I can also block with the gauntlet if I want. I don't know how much damage it's going to block though, let's find out. It's not, you know, it's not a full damage block, so it's not fantastic. But, you know, if you have the mana and you want to get some shots off or whatever, use the gauntlet. I'm going to shoot this guy at a range. Okay, and it did a lot of damage. I mean, did you see that? That almost completely took out his health. What a terrible dodge, Dennis. And get this guy. And we're going to switch it back to the two-handed and just slice him up a bit. Oh, and the slow motion kills. It'll do this every once in a while. I'm not sure what the parameters are to actually get that going, but yeah, every once in a while you'll get a slow motion kill. And we've got the next boss coming up right here. There's some dialogue. I'm gonna skip through it because I want to get to the boss fight and wrap up this video. But it's basically like there's some stuff that she's looking for and whatever. I can talk to her later in the save if I feel like it. All right, so here's the checkpoint. Checkpoint right before the boss. This game does it on the regular, so you don't have to worry about consistently running back and back to the boss fights. You're able to respawn right at the start of the boss fights consistently. All right, and we're gonna kill this dude, and then we will wrap up playthrough number 2 Oh,
Watch
okay.
out.
I'm gonna go
There
for
are
this
some
guy
freaks
first.
on your side of the gate.
Oh, I thought I was out of the range of the attack. That's why I didn't bother dodging. This is just a great start. Okay. Stabby stab. And we're gonna do a little like this. Nice. Okay, and then the big guy. They will attack you multiple at once, but these particular NPCs happen to move very slowly, so I was able to avoid him. But if you've got several guys who can keep up with you, who aren't like these slow lumbering dudes, they will. It's not one of those games where only one enemy will attack you at a time. No, you will get hit by multiple dudes at the same time. So, all right. So now the boss will come. We're like, oh yeah, look at how powerful and strong we are. We completely beasted this fool. Yeah. Oh, they take off the your helmet whenever you get in cutscenes, but they'll keep on the rest of your armor. And this is a big dude with a shield. Alrighty. So, also, I have done this boss fight several times. So if you're like, Forrest, you beat him in your first try, which it might happen, it might not, we'll see. But if it does, please bear in mind, I have experience with it. So I know his attacks, I know what they do. They do randomize the order though. It's not all, he's gonna shoot out here. Now they do randomize the order of the attacks. Although, the last time I did this, he's gonna summon some dudes now. So I need to fight those, and he's gonna... Maybe just one for this first wave? Yeah, it's just one for this first wave. Kill this as soon as possible, because if you take your time, he drops his shields and he'll come out and blow you up while you're trying to fight this guy. But if you kill him before his time is up, then he will just finish. He won't just sit there or anything. And when he finishes, his shields burst out like that, so yeah. But after this, in fact, we can probably just wrap up the video right here pretty much. I can still show you the next two boss fights before Monday, and I think I want to do that again. This was a pretty... Look at how forgiving this rolling is. It's... Wow, it's just very forgiving. It can be very forgiving. These are also, though, the first couple of bosses, so that's something else, you know, to keep in mind. Yeah, it's just been fun. I've been having a really good time with it. So I think I might just do another video where I just show some gameplay. We'll just, you know, shoot the shit, talk about whatever, and just do that. I think we'll do that. But I mean, yeah, this is it. Just get this guy to his next thing. Although his multiple phases, if I recall correctly, his multiple phases aren't very different. Wait, where are the enemies here? Okay, just the one. Yeah. Yeah, his multiple phases aren't incredibly different. Alright, well, let's just wrap up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this checkout video, taking a look at Lords of the Fallen. Dark Souls Light, as they call it. But it's still pretty enjoyable. Now, I don't have my magic right now. In the next video, I'll show you guys a little bit more of the in-depth stuff. I'm just going to keep doing this, and this guy will die, and that's basically that. Hope you have a fantastic afternoon. Stay tuned for more Lords of the Fallen, or other great gaming coverage here on the channel. I think the boss... Okay, what are you doing? It's still a beta build. Don't worry. All right. Have a good afternoon, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Keep watching and keep owning. This guy's kind of a joke, to be honest. Just kind of dance around him a little bit, you know, do whatever. Oh, I could switch up and do my gauntlet attack, too. So once he, like, commits to something, shoot him. That didn't do much damage. Whatever. Stop it. Stop stopping it. Watch out.